to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing Baskin, a horror film from beyond the great land of the USA. I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com. My name is Eric, and joining me tonight, first up, he builds bloodygoodhorror.com, and he's late every week. His name is Mark.
Hey.
If you were on time, I wouldn't. Last week you were there for the pre-show. I didn't even know what to do with myself.
I know. Well, things are happening around here.
Next up here on the show, he lives in Chicago. He is the official beer man of Bloody Good Horror. He also likes the Mets. What else can we tell you to round out Joe?
What else can we gather just from the picture of him on the screen right now?
He has
he has a bed.
He apparently has an apartment, which is cool.
There's definitely windows there.
Yeah. Next up on the show, he writes horror fiction and he co-hosts the Instamatic, one of the BGH spinoffs. His name is Casey.
Hello.
And last up tonight, coming to us from Manhattan in New York City, where he assures me there are multiple hospitals within a 15-block radius if you ever needed one. He also went to Duke, and his name is John Schnars.
Hey guys.
Schnars. Hey, did you see that picture, Schnars, on Facebook about how if you superimpose Sebastian Stan's face over an old picture of Mark Hamill, it looks exactly the same? So people were like, oh, this guy should be Luke Skywalker.
I did not see that, but
And I was like,
I'm
you're right,
interested.
Schnars should be Luke Skywalker. It's perfect.
Who is this person, Sebastian? What now?
It's the guy who looks like Schnars.
Yeah.
It's the Winter, Soldier. Right?
There's so many.
Don't
No,
we
it's-
have the
it's- no, no, no,
technology
no.
now just to do that with computers.
It's the guy who looks like Schnars.
It's a guy.
You're the
Alright.
boy who cried Schnars. There's
Joe,
No.
he's
This
a
is
white
the
person
one.
Right.
with somewhat blonde hair.
No. It is uncanny. I've even had listeners send me pictures next to yours and been like, yeah, okay, I get it.
That's not true. You
It's
said that to yourself.
100% true.
Eric started another email account just to send his info at Bloody
I
Good Horror.
concur.
You wouldn't believe it. Schnars, tell me a little bit briefly about Baskin. This was a film that our patrons voted on, is that right?
Yeah, so it made it into these, I don't know, I think it was 4 films that we put out to the patrons to vote on. I don't even remember what the one that won was because it was 2 weeks ago and a lot has happened to me in 2
The
weeks.
Invitation, wasn't that?
Yes, The Invitation. Good call, Joe.
That creepy cult movie.
Yeah, Baskin lost by, I think, 1 vote. And so we said, you know what? Let's give the fans what they want. And we went and watched it. And it was interesting.
Where's it from? That's mainly what I wanted to know.
It's a Turkish film. I don't have the director's name in front of me. I believe it's a debut feature. It was
John
previously a
Smith.
short. Yeah,
John Smith.
it's actually the Turkish equivalent of John Smith.
Can Evernal.
Yeah, that's John Smith. Joe was
He
right.
sounds like a Turkish
Can. His first name
delight.
is Can.
Joe, how would
You've been waiting
Oh,
how long to use Turkish film right now?
so long.
Joe, how would you rank this against all the other Turkish films you've seen?
Well, did you guys see? This is only the 5th movie to come out of Turkey to actually get distribution.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
5th ever?
Yeah, apparently.
Isn't it neat how other places are different? I just love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we need an equivalent of spoiler alert when we know literally nothing about a country that we're about to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Because
oh yeah.
we were talking about it earlier today, and it was pretty clear that none of us have any idea, anything about Turkey.
There will be
I
lots
know
of
a
wild
little bit about
conjecture.
Turkey.
Oh,
Oh,
and that's
sorry.
Look, I feel comfortable with my knowledge as just a regular American about Turkey. Let's put it
the
that.
email you
I
sent
know it's
earlier
delicious
today,
the
John.
day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The email you sent earlier today where you said, I know something about what's going on in Turkey might have been the whitest NPR thing I've ever received.
I listen to
I have
NPR.
friends that are
Listen.
Turkish.
Look,
I read the Economist show. I read it for one reason. It's so that I know 100 words about what's happening in every country.
Sure. I live next to a Turkish church. Does that count?
There you go. Okay, interesting. Yeah, you've learned some things, Mark, about
I
Turkey.
see what they do in the back lot.
Yeah, you want to tell us about that? Because you told us that story today, and it was pretty interesting.
In the
No, you
back.
don't.
Sorry, I got John, and then John got me. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen this. But one day I was grilling outside, and I can see into the back lot of the church from my back porch, and they were people from the church were roasting a pig on a spit made out of scaffolding powered by a car battery.
Nature.
Nice.
I assume someone was getting married, I think was probably the occasion.
Oh yeah, you bust out the special batteries for that.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, honestly, it's kind of genius. It just looks like the most hood shit I'd ever seen.
So speaking, this
And
will
I
be
just
cool.
made an accidental hood of the car pun, and I didn't even need.
Mark just reminded me of weird things that you see in Chicago. This week, I thought I saw a homeless man wearing a Bloody Good Horror sweatshirt, and I was walking down the street and like contemplating in my head, like, do I take a picture of this homeless man? And then, luckily, it was like some sort of like Cleveland Reds like weird thing with like baseball bats going through, but it looked exactly like our logo
You
from
mean
like
the
half a
you
block
mean the
away.
I thought you
Cincinnati
were gonna say
Reds?
that you just found a mirror on the side of the street.
Mark, you might need to get Burrito Breath on the phone because he straight copied this homeless dude sweatshirt from Chicago.
I was like, holy shit! Is
also-
it sensitive to take a photo of this?
Yeah, it's definitely.
I say this all the time, but you got to get burrito breath on the phone is my new favorite sentence. Shout out to burrito breath.
Speaking of weird things, it's time for the segment in Bloody Good Horror where we all have hot takes on things.
Ooh.
Oh,
I would
Lord.
like hot takes on the Yoga Hosers trailer. This is Kevin Smith's newest movie.
I wanted to give Joe a hot take on turkey, but apparently he doesn't want it. So
Hot takes.
So if you haven't seen it, it is it's real special.
It looks like
Um,
the thing you would make after making that weird fucking walrus movie he made.
It's
Tough.
PG-13, which is the weird thing.
Oh, that is weird.
Yeah.
Well,
See,
if
that
you
kind
saw
of-
the
daughters are
trailer-
like 12, aren't they? How old are they?
Oh, they're Jesus Christ, Nars. Okay, Dad.
Wait.
uh,
One of those girls is his daughter?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
one's
other
his
one-
daughter,
the
and the
other
other's Johnny Depp's
Johnny
daughter.
Depp's
He has
daughter.
kid? I didn't even know he had a kid. That makes
He
sense
has
to
a
me.
wife and everything.
Yeah, I knew he had a wife.
He's kind of like a normal guy
Yeah.
who just makes
It said the
movies.
beginning of the trailer says from human hockey jersey Kevin Smith, which is okay. That's pretty good.
I will say,
I feel like someone called him that, and now he's owning it by calling himself that.
Here's my feeling on this. Like, it's batshit crazy. Whatever, makes no sense. As long as the movie doesn't come out and then he complains about critic reviews, like if he's just gonna make a crazy movie and not care what anybody says,
But,
that's kind of
you know-
awesome. Like I'm 100% for that. And Johnny Depp in weird like makeup and all that. Just
But
go
who
for it.
even cares?
But
if he
have,
does
like, a-
that?
have a
Like,
sense
you
of-
don't, you don't have to pay attention to anything that Kevin Smith says. You
No,
can just
no.
watch the movie.
I'm just saying, like, I want
Yeah,
him to have a
oh,
sense of
okay.
humor about himself, and I feel like he's going in that direction, and I think that's a positive step if he is.
Well,
Yeah,
in
but to
my,
be fair, he did turn into a whiny baby on what was it on Tusk with the critic reviews.
Which
yeah.
is crazy. You made the most insane movie ever, and then you're like gonna be worried about what critics are saying.
This
So in
film,
my-
it already has a Metascore. Like a bunch of people
Oh.
have reviewed it. No, I just mean like it must be out. Like,
No, I just like Joe's mocking of you.
is that on Steam? I don't know what the
Oh.
fuck.
it's on IMDb, you asshole. No, Hollywood Reporter and
John
Variety.
finally snaps.
Hollywood Reporter, Variety, New York Magazine, like these guys, they've all reviewed it already, like published reviews. So
How is it?
You just listed all the places I would never look for a movie review.
I will say,
in my 5 minutes of research for the post on bloodygoodhorror.com, which you should go to if you haven't seen the trailer. This is part of the True North trilogy, and the next film that they're starting to film supposedly this summer is called Moose Jaws, aka Jaws with a Moose.
Right.
So
I don't
I'm
think
pretty.
That's what
pretty
we used to
excited
call
about
my
that.
friend's mom.
it doesn't
What?
look bad, Yoga Hosers. Like, and I think
No, I mean, it
I
looks
was kind of
really-
like what I was cringing at was Kevin Smith writing for like a teenage girl. But I guess now
Yeah.
that it turns out it's their kids, like it kind of makes sense.
You're so basic, Joe.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's what Mark and I were talking about, like that kind of talk. And it's like, oh, let's post it on Instagram. Like, my only concern is like that is going to date this movie within like 6 months. Like, it's like an Eminem song. Like,
Well, Kevin Smith
did like the,
definitely can't write for like any female. I don't think.
no, not at all. But I mean, my
I
hope would
like
be
the
like,
Bratzies.
yeah, like his daughter would have some sort of say as far as like, no, kids wouldn't actually say this.
Did it look horror enough to do for the show? Like, I kind of want to see it just because.
Yeah, enough. I mean,
I think
we have
so.
to. kind of have to do it. It's a conversation piece. And what Casey was saying, he liked the Bratzies. If you haven't seen the trailer, the Bratzies are the tiny little bratwurst Nazis that are attacking people.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Was that Kevin Smith?
probably.
As the Nazi? Ooh, that it could have been.
Yikes.
Yes, it
No,
was.
the Bratzy.
Yes, the Bratzi. Yeah,
Awesome.
we should mention that Johnny Depp is reprising his role as Guy Lapointe.
Guy Lapointe.
Excuse me, Guy Lapointe.
Guy Lapointe.
Yeah. And
He was
both of the
kind of,
daughters are
like,
17 years old.
He was
Just-
kind of the worst part of Tusk, I thought.
Really?
Yeah, I
I thought
remember.
it was kind of fun.
Actually, it's coming back to me now. I was the one person who didn't think that was hilarious.
Because you're joyless.
Yeah.
I liked him in Tusk. I don't know if I want to see another whole movie with him though.
I mean, honestly, like in the frame of Tusk, I have no expectations for this movie other than it's gonna be weird. Because like now that I've seen Tusk and I know like where his head's at, I'm like, all right, there's something.
I'm
Yeah.
more excited for the Moose Jaw movie than Moose Jaws.
That's
than
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I said in my post was
Yeah.
that.
Hey, Mark,
What's up?
you are getting married.
Yeah, I sure am.
And so you had a party to
Broke my heart.
celebrate the impending end of your bachelordom. Would you want to tell
That's
us about how
right.
that went?
Yeah,
Joe was there.
I think
Joe
it went
happened.
great. It was a great time. Many drinks were had. I made a very poor 11th hour decision.
Ooh.
11th hour decision to start drinking scotch, which ended graphically. But other than that, I kind
It
of
kind of ended the night. Like
So
People started getting worried about you, and
Mark like
they
threw up
stopped
everywhere, and then everyone's like, "Ugh,
I
this
timed
is
it
gonna be
perfect. Like this, I timed it perfectly. Like the second night I left, and then from what I was told, like within an hour, Mark was vomiting off the balcony.
bad." Yeah. Yeah.
But to
It
me,
was
when I
because
left,
you left, dude.
he had been drinking all day, and he was like chugging scotch, like not just sipping it. He was just like drinking it and like
I
filling
was
it all the way
really
up.
thirsty.
It was
Yeah.
a terrible idea, and I recall I may have even told him that.
No, I think
That's the
Saturday-
last time he gets to do that without that judgmental look.
Saturday was a long day.
I'll be honest, the highlight for me was hanging out with Joe.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Because what I realized, what I love about Joe is that like Joe could drink all day, and he doesn't get drunk like in the traditional sense of getting drunk, right? Like Mark gets drunk, he gets really happy, and he loves everybody, and like he might start slurring his words. Joe doesn't slur his words. He like doesn't stumble around. He just gets consistently like weirder and more like combative. Like he just starts talking shit to everyone, and just like you start going into like the Joe Onion even deeper than you ever thought imagine.
I got
It's
I
really,
got a text
really
from
entertaining.
each person that had never met Joe before that was like, "What's up with Joe?"
Wait, really?
but in a good way. Like Joe's
love
really
that Joe
fun,
guy.
but he's also sort of dark.
like they wanted his number. Like they were like, "Yo, can you send me that Joe guy's number?"
Like we were talking about something like early on the day, Saturday. We hadn't even been drinking that long, and somebody brought up like it was me and two of Mark's friends and then Joe, and he said something about like some kind of food that he liked that I thought was really weird, and so I was like, really, that's crazy. And Joe just looked at him deadpan and he goes, you should probably just leave now. And like I was dying, and I don't think the other two knew how to react. It
There was
pretty-
definitely, I want to say Saturday morning, there was definitely like a separation where your older brother is my age, and like all the youngins went hiking. And I felt like I was just standing on the porch like, all right, kids, you go have fun. I'm going to sit here on this couch and drink alone.
It was
I
real
believe
funny.
you said that exact thing.
Joe also was dancing by himself out on the deck at one point to Call Me Maybe.
Oh, yeah, it's a good tune.
Yeah, no, that's
We did. We
danceable.
listened to my
Also,
running mix for like 2 hours.
Starships.
Starships.
I have a video of that that was sent to me the next day.
It was fun.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite parts of hanging out with Joe, like I posted that video of him singing, very earnestly singing Timber, the Kesha and Pitbull joint, on the way to Horror Hound. So
We also
It was a blast. I had a really good time. I don't think anybody got like too out of hand. Like it was just
No.
like a nice weekend.
it was pretty chill. Yeah.
even in my, it sounds ridiculous. That was more just a body shutdown situation.
yeah,
I
no.
think it was actually everyone was pretty calm.
Shut it down.
No, you went out, you threw up, and then you came in and were like, all right, I feel a lot better now. And then you went downstairs and threw up, and then like went to bed. Like it wasn't.
And I went straight to bed, tucked myself in.
Joe and I were at one point like having this kind of discussion about just the show and how long it's been around and just crazy. You know, it's been like 10 years, pretty nuts. And we started talking about like the future. And he goes, I'll be honest, I thought I'd be the first one to quit. I was like, what?
I thought I'd be done by now.
Yeah. So there's Joe.
That sounds like Joe.
Yeah, well,
I don't understand him anymore, but I'm just as fascinated.
any day now.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm probably out of the show for the next 2 weeks in preparation and in matrimony because we got stuff to do.
I still maintain that we should do a show live from Chicago.
Oh.
Like Sunday morning show.
Listen,
like we could do it.
I will send you a link of the equipment we'll need because I'm not bringing it with me, and we'll do it.
I mean, what do we need to bring other than like? Don't we just need one computer and a bunch of microphones?
Yeah, that is technically how this works. Yeah.
Don't you still have Periscope on your phone? Just leave your phone on all day.
No, we can definitely do something. I mean, what the hell? I have a hotel room. We can do something.
Yeah.
All right. I'm planning on it.
We can Skype.
Well, I
Casey
will
in.
not be there. So.
That's true. Mark is probably
where you can
pretty
just
busy.
talk shit on Mark.
I mean,
all
it
episode
sounds like a
long.
running
Amazing.
theme lately. So I think.
So Mark, did you have a good time?
What's that?
Did you enjoy yourself?
Oh, I loved it, man. I don't know. I just not to get all mushy, but it's cool to gather a group of people who still like you after all these years. You know.
That was great. I was really
nice.
bummed on Sunday, like when we were all leaving. Like,
Yeah, it was a very I don't know. I have great friends, and I was very flattered. One of my friends came out on Friday night, even though his sister-in-law was giving birth, and he left on Saturday. He left on Saturday at like 3 a.m. So I was just very appreciative.
Was it raining when you guys got up in the morning, where you were?
Oh yeah, it sure was. It was pouring.
It's kind of a bummer.
oh yeah,
Really ruined my crossword that I left outside. If you want to know what kind of party it was.
ruined a lot of things.
Yeah. All right, Joe, speaking of ruining things,
Oh.
what are we drinking tonight while we review Baskin?
Yeah, so I don't even know how to begin to explain Baskin. I'll leave that to John. But
You don't.
one of the running themes in this, and it sort of centers around like everything going batshit crazy, is there's a lot of frogs. There's like buckets full of them. There's big piles of them. There's just a lot of frogs everywhere. So in honor of that, I picked a beer from the fine folks in Akron, Ohio, at the brewery of Hoppin' Frog. And the beer I picked of theirs is their Silk Porter, which is delicious. Comes in a little over 6% alcohol, so not like super high, but very good. A lot of it's a porter, so a lot of like sort of toasted malts, like chocolate, coffee sort of flavors. They actually put out like a special release of this probably like once a year of a coffee silk porter, so it even has like more sort of intense coffee flavor. Really good. Everything Hoppin' Frog does is great. This one is probably one of the first beers I found of theirs, and I drink it anytime I can get my hands on it. And I want to say they distribute pretty far, so at least in like the Midwest and even on the East Coast. I don't know about the West Coast, but you can probably find their stuff. They put out another beer, Boris, which is like an imperial stout, which is kind of like a just like amped up version of the Silk Porter. So I wholeheartedly suggest everything they put out. Hoppinfrog.com is their website, which seems pretty easy to spell, so you can probably figure that out. And yeah, give them a go.
Thank you
All
for
right.
that, Joe.
Yeah, concise, to the point.
Nice, like always. All right, guys, let's take a quick break here and discuss Baskin.
There's something really scary about a guy with a knife who just snaps.
Hi, this is Doc Broccoli Pinhead from the Hellraiser movies, welcoming you to Bloody Good Horror.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch.
Main feature.
And we're back.
Hey, sorry, I need to interrupt quick.
No.
Can we talk about the 30 seconds that we all thought that Paul Rudd was going to be at Horror Hound? Can we talk about
Oh,
Wait, wait. It only
It's not even worth justifying.
wait.
with the
It only
conversation.
lasted 30 seconds.
It was almost
Yeah,
24
like
hours.
3 hours.
What happened? Did he cancel or was it not actually happening?
No, he canceled. But I said I posted it in Slack, and everyone got all excited. And then I was like, "Don't get too excited. They usually cancel a week before." And then the next day, he had canceled.
It's not that Paul Rudd being there is amazing, but Paul Rudd being there for a Halloween 6 reunion is maybe like the greatest thing that I've ever heard.
It's amazing, and it's so funny
there's
too.
no universe where it was going to happen.
I haven't bought an autograph in years, but I had this moment where I was like, "What if I got a poster and I got them all to sign it?"
I mean, it's just so
Waited in line
hilarious.
for
Like
7
everything
hours.
about it's hilarious, from the like sort of mosaic of all the people in the Halloween 6 reunion. Like everyone else, it's like a picture of like the child actor who literally has never done anything since, and all these other people, and then like a very professional recent photograph of Paul Rudd in the middle that just
It's just weird because he seems like a dude who he doesn't have to do that. He's fucking Ant-Man. So why is he doing it?
But he also seems like the kind of guy that would show up to something like that just because he thinks it's fun.
Yeah. That's
That
fair.
was the only thing I could think of, is that he was like shooting a documentary about him being in that.
Well, it was
movie.
his first like lead. It was his first like I don't know if it was his first on-screen role, but it was definitely his first leading.
Was it before or after Clueless?
Yeah, that's my
It was
question.
before. It was definitely before Clueless.
Really?
Yeah, it was
I could've sworn it was
90.
after.
They might have both been 96, to be honest with you.
What a year, huh?
Yeah. You know what? You know what? His first ever. I don't know if it was his first, but he was in a Sega Genesis commercial. You guys might remember this. Where was it? Genesis or Super Nintendo?
The Atlanta Olympics also happened during that
He
year.
walks into like an abandoned.
Thanks, Mark.
He walks into an abandoned drive-in, and there's like a podium sitting there with a console on it, and he starts playing the game up on the drive-in thing, and it's so 90s. There's like air blown on him, and he's like, "Yeah, radical."
Oh, I do remember that commercial.
I can't remember which console it was, but yeah, he has like he had awesome like 90s bowl surfer hair.
All right.
Joe, can you give us a
story.
confirmation so we can move on with our lives?
Yeah, it's fine.
They both came out in 95.
Okay,
Clueless is listed before Halloween, but I mean,
I'm sure it was after,
yeah.
but either way,
Well, safe to say it was too late to take either one back by the time both of them had come out.
yeah. I like Clueless.
Why would you take my Clueless?
Yeah, Clueless is a good movie. Mark, shut the fuck
Yeah.
up.
I'm not talking shit on Clueless. I'm just saying.
Shut your whore mouth.
All right, this is going to a dark place.
Hey, John.
Sir.
Words. At some point early on in the genesis of Bloody Good Horror, it became apparent to me that you are smart and you know words. So I
Don't ask Joe, all right?
so I
You have to
then
be
asked
smart.
So
You have to use your brain.
I
got
then
a
asked
job?
you to bring us a word of the day every week.
Too soon.
And now we're here. That's all that's happened in between that time.
That's a Freddy Got Fingered reference. for sure.
I gotcha. So please bring us the word of the day.
Today's word, Eric, is vizier. Yes, that is, vizier is a high official in some Muslim countries, especially in Turkey under Ottoman rule.
Huh. I use a vizier to keep up my man boobies.
Yeah. No, that's
I
the
thought you were going to
bro.
say to keep the sun out of your eyes, but either way. And it actually comes from the Arabic word wazir, which I'm sure is pronounced differently. That means caliph's chief counselor. Yeah. So vizier. I think in Aladdin, what's his name? Jafar was a vizier.
Oh.
Wow, there's a reference I actually understand. All right.
Yeah.
Aladdin.
But yeah, so I mean, there's not really a direct correlation to the film other than the fact that the film is set in Turkey. There is a couple of references to sort of Ottoman rule of Turkey, which is,
Sore subject.
it's a pretty important part of their history as a country, and I guess world history as well. So the Ottomans had viziers, and they ruled in Turkey.
Love
Right.
it. Nice work, John. Nice work.
Just happy to be here.
Why don't you tell us what this movie here is about?
Baskin
Good luck.
is
Good luck.
a movie.
About
It's interesting. I think I will credit Mark with the House of a Thousand Corpses reference, which I think is probably the most accurate. The film is very much sort of a House of a Thousand Corpses mixed with a couple of different other horror influences. I think somebody mentioned Argento, which is pretty
Argento, Fulci, early Fulci stuff.
Yeah. In terms of actual plot, there's not a ton. We basically have a main character whose name I believe is Arda, and I don't have the page pulled up, so I can't even verify that. But you have this. You have Arda. He is a
Verified.
cop. Okay, so yeah, so he's a cop. He has a boss. He calls him boss, Remzi, and then there's a couple of other cops. We meet these guys and they're sort of having a laid back dinner. They're drinking. They're definitely showing themselves to not be, the most professional of policing folks. They're kind of harassing the people who run the restaurant, or they're telling really aggressive prostitute stories, things of that nature.
Aggressive prostitute stories.
Yeah, aggressive is a good word.
I mean, would you guys disagree? Were they not
No.
aggressive?
No.
Yeah.
No, those were aggressive.
Yeah. So there's essentially these like 6 cops. The film has opened with this scene of a young boy who essentially has like a waking nightmare type of thing where he sees a guy come out of his room. That's kind of like an initial sort of, what do we call those opening shots? I can't even remember.
Shot in the opening?
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Joe. And that is revealed that it's Arda, essentially. It was sort of a flashback. And we see these cops. I mean, they're just kind of hanging out. One of them kind of has a freak out where he's maybe being haunted or stalked in the bathroom. Everything's being shot at these really odd angles, so it's very unsettling. They get a call they leave the restaurant, they go out and they get a call that brings them to this house. And that's where it's referenced as they're sort of standing outside the house. There's another police car there. The cops have now gone inside, but one of the cops says to the other, like, oh, this was a police station during the Ottoman rule, and now it's just been this like abandoned house, and it's a creepy looking fucking house, right? So of course they go in, and House of a Thousand Corpses stuff starts happening that is, if possible, potentially even more insane than some of the stuff that happened in the Rob Zombie movie. Yeah, so I'll probably stop there because that's like, you kind of get into, I would say, heavy spoilers at that point.
Heavy petting.
I mean, depending on which way you go.
Some, spoiler alerts at this point.
Yeah.
Some point here to be able to talk about the good stuff.
There was some petting.
Hey,
Dig through the ditches, burn through the witches.
Yes.
Damn in the back of my dream.
Hey, Mark.
That was aggressive.
Mark,
What's up?
what did you think of this?
Man, it's hard to summon my thoughts for this. I really like the ending, which we can talk about. And it certainly succeeded in getting some like really funny looks out of me that I wish people had seen when shit was happening. It sort of sacrifices any semblance of a coherent narrative for the sake of like just throwing all these twists and turns at you. Like, it actually takes up until the point where they kind of arrive at this crazy warehouse situation. It's really unclear what's going on, and even after that, it's pretty unclear. But I will say that it was pretty compelling all the way through, even though it like really in the end doesn't make any fucking sense.
Joe.
Yeah, I'm probably on the same page as Mark. I don't know what I think about this movie. I like this movie, but I'm not in like with this movie. I love these type of movies. Like, I really liked House of a Thousand Corpses. I like, going to like a spooky house, like, what is it, Night of the Demons and things like that. And just like weird shit happens in every room like that. That's kind of like one of my favorite genres of horror. I don't know if this like does anything like out of the norm other than be like super weird. So for that, I enjoyed it. You kind of get to this whole like cult thing, which I thought was really interesting. But that being said, I don't think they did a really good job of sort of developing these characters. So you kind of don't really care either way about them. Like you just kind of see them do weird things, and then they're kind of in this building. So I was a little like bleh on that aspect. I want to say like visually, I really enjoyed it, but like story wise, I don't think I really cared.
Casey.
So I kind of love this movie. I think not necessarily from like the story aspect or anything, but this is the first movie in a long time that I've sat through just continually asking, what the fuck? And that's kind of cool in horror, especially nowadays with a lot of the horror movies we come out with. So I love it. I think I probably love it more the fact that it's something completely different than what we normally get that's formulaic. So there's probably some gaps in, like the actual technical critic side of it, but I was really kind of blown away by the whole thing. So I caught myself a couple times too, like Mark said. I had some facial expressions going on that probably would have been good to have on the camera at some point.
This actually would have been a good spooktacular, because I don't think I don't think that actually reading the subtitles would make this movie make any more sense.
No, it wouldn't. I did find myself like partway through the end of once all the crazy shit starts happening, I think I did stop reading the subtitles, because who cares?
Honestly, there were moments when I was like, it doesn't really matter. They're just saying hell stuff, or they're
I
screaming.
felt like the subtitles were really fast in a lot of parts too. Like,
yeah.
Either that or Turkish people have really long words.
I can't read so good no more.
John.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth. I think I like this a fair bit, actually. I don't know. It's not something that I enjoyed watching, but I guess I did. I don't know if it was just the fact that it's Turkish and like sometimes, and I think we've talked about this. It's been a while. I mean, Eric, you mentioned this at the top of the show. It's been a while since we've seen a movie that's like this far afield from, a U.S. Hollywood type of picture. It was probably like that, the girl who walks alone home vampire thing.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah, but it's so like it's honestly just refreshing to see something that's sort of this different and sort of to Casey's point, like whether it's like super well made or not, like it's different in a lot of different ways. It hits the beats differently, and I think that kind of keeps it fresh. It's, for me, I think the mythos that they tacked on was like just enough. Like it obviously wasn't super well developed or really even gone into that deeply in the film, but it was enough that I was like pretty bought in on like, yeah, cool cult situation, really graphic shit happening. And I'm not like, I didn't think it was just like, to use a term that I used to hate, but is at least accurate in describing things, torture porn. It wasn't just like, they didn't just like go there for the sake of going there. It didn't feel like to me. I liked it in that regard.
Because I was looking at, there was a review on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, for it, and it was actually from a legit paper in there, and the guy gave it a fresh score, but he is actually talking about it was like, he was calling it torture porn, essentially. I didn't see any torture porn in this at all. I think that's a pretty important distinction to make.
It's a little torture-y. I mean, once they're in hell and they meet Hellman, it's a little, but it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
It's more just, I think anytime people are sort of like uncomfortable watching stuff on screen that's violent, they kind of go to torture porn sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know that it lingered enough. There was like one sequence that was like pretty lingering on, I think it was a woman was like kind of cutting up a dude.
It's more just violent and gory in the way that those 80s movies were, specifically those Italian ones. So they actually, really weird random thing, like they use a musical cue from Cannibal Holocaust in this film in like a really key moment, and it's like one of the main themes. It was super weird to hear. It almost didn't even sound like they re-recorded it. It sounded like they were like, yo, you got that MP3? But I think
you were one of like 4 people.
I think that it's gory. Listen, John, a lot of our listeners would probably recognize that. I think that it's one of those, it's gory and violent in the way that those movies were. Like, if you think about the stuff in Cannibal Holocaust, you wouldn't call that, well, maybe you would call it torture porn, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
It's more just viscerally disgusting, you know what I mean? I think to be torture porn, I think your point about lingering is important. I think.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm fine with this movie. I didn't like. I'm not gonna lie. I was like pretty bored with it at some point because I think the first 15 minutes are actually pretty riveting. I think that the direction's really good. This conversation and all these interactions are just so odd that I was just watching like, what is going on in this movie? But and then you're waiting for some kind of anchor that never comes. It actually gets less coherent as the movie goes on, and at some point they get to this weird hell place they're at, and it must have been 40 straight minutes, it felt like, of them running around and screaming, running around and seeing crazy shit and going like, blah, blah, and then they run away, and then they meet Hell Guy, and then it's a half an hour of him just saying hell things, of just being like, open your eyes to the journey beyond, like just the most generic, like bullshitty hell afterlife stuff. And so unfortunately for me, like, it just didn't keep me in. I was reading that it was a short film. It makes total sense. It 100% feels like a short film that was padded out to 90 minutes. Thankfully it's not longer than that, which is good. But
I thought it was like an hour and 40.
With fun watching them, there's just goblin music playing in the background and lights flashing off her face, and that's all that's happening for like 2 straight minutes.
Well, this is 6 men in a van singing the song. Let's go.
Yeah. It reminded me of Wayne's World.
I loved it. They would like kick to each other, and then the one guy they were all had their own dances. It was
so
good.
It's weird,
it was
and
funny.
I think it's like I appreciate it in a unique way, but as a film, it just kind of lost me, and I just found myself like I did actually stop reading the subtitles because I'm like, well, they're just screaming basically at this point about look at that, oh my god, what's that? Stop it. So I would recommend this maybe to like people who are oddity seekers. You know what I mean? Who are just
I did like I had
people.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
like fresh out of college. I started thinking like, I was watching this. I'm like, oh, maybe I should tell them about this. And then like 20 minutes later, I'm like, no, absolutely not. I can never tell them about this.
I was honestly
shit. Joe is fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly hoping that this is one of the movies that someone, probably John, because he's the one that travels the most, watched on an airplane. Like, yeah, I'll just fire up Baskin on an airplane.
Oh, I watched it on the train.
Joe, what you really should have done is recommended it, and then when they came back to you, been like, it's hilarious, right?
I love rom-coms.
No, Mark, this kind of I had a weird moment watching this. Actually, this is somewhat of an aside. Obviously, I had my 10-day-old daughter in my arm while my wife was taking a shower. And I had this movie on with headphones, obviously, because I'm not a sicko. And I'm like sitting here and I'm like looking at the kid, and then I'm looking at the movie, and I'm like, this is just not appropriate. Like, she doesn't know what's going on, and I still feel really inappropriate about this.
She's like 2 weeks old. All she's seeing is color and light right now. It's fine.
Oh yeah, I don't even think they see color. I think it's just like flashing lights, and I don't even know. But
I feel pretty inappropriate now that you told me that story.
Yeah, it is like it's
also. Well, hold on, Bet.
Conversation.
Congratulations, by the way.
Oh yeah, I don't think we talked about.
Have you been on the show since you have had a child?
No. But listen, it's the second kid. We all know.
It doesn't even matter.
I mean, the Ghouls are a perfect example, right? The second and third kids, it's just like, yeah,
the
whatever.
best.
Kids
Are the
here, you know?
best.
I am a fucking special prince.
To be fair, we did cover in the pre-show.
Yeah, that's true.
You just were not there, Mark. I don't know why.
You just have to pay for the birth announcements at Bloody Good Horror. Pew, pew, pew.
This ain't for free, buddy.
Christ.
Sorry, Joe. Where you were going somewhere?
Oh no! I was just saying, like it is like a hard decision. Like, at what point do you stop watching these movies in front of your kids? Because like I did the same thing with Mia. Like when she was newborn, it's like she doesn't know what the hell's going on. Like,
Yeah.
let's watch fucking the Poughkeepsie tapes.
Oh boy, yeah. So
on the opposite end of that spectrum, when my 16-year-old daughter, I turned this movie on in the living room when she was still out there, and it started out with Arda's mom, I'm assuming, having sex in the bedroom while he was in his bedroom, and all you could hear was the moaning, and it took about 30 seconds of that to say, yeah, I'm going to go play on my computer.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like, it's just kind of gory. There's a couple of like sex scenes where it just kind of goes over that line of like, you wouldn't want to be watching with somebody else.
Dude, it goes,
there's a
it's not
couple
like, right, it's not slightly over the line.
No,
It is,
I'm just
like,
saying, it's not the whole
prolonged.
movie. It's a couple of specific moments for me that were like, you.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of the gore is kind of like camera moving around quickly and stuff, especially like in the beginning when like they first encounter like the weird cult people. It's not really until the, close to the end where, they're pulling out guts and stuff where it's like really graphic.
Well, so they said that this is listed as being shot for $350K, which is, I mean,
That's impressive.
I'm sure you can make a movie for less in Turkey than in the U.S., but like, that's still like no money. Yeah, so I mean, they do a decent job though with the effects of having, to Joe's point. I mean, like they're effective, even though it's not always like.
How much do you think frogs cost in Turkey?
Oh my God, the frog budget alone in this.
I got to imagine, yeah.
I bet they just bought it from the local frog vendor. Just buy a basket of frogs for $100.
You can fry up those frog legs later, and it's a nice delicacy.
Yeah,
so,
we're shooting a movie.
Most frogs were harmed in the filming of this movie.
Frog gigging.
I actually thought the one thing, I mean, to kind of get in a little bit to the plot, I actually thought it was pretty interesting that they used police officers as the sort of the central characters. I was trying to think, like, that's pretty rare. I mean, how many horror movies? I'm sure there's some. There's definitely some, in fact, I know. But where the main central characters are all cops.
Well, and obviously, like, we kind of talk about over email, like, obviously, they're just kind of different. Like, I could not tell you the cultural significance of cops in Turkey, but I can tell you that they all had different uniforms on, which I found really weird, and they roll like 6 to 1 car, which is amazing.
Yeah.
They were more like and I think this is how they're portrayed in the film. Like it's more like a mafia gang type situation. Yeah. They're just kind of like dudes who hang out. I mean, I don't know, not to like go down a rabbit hole about like the sort of like way that who gets power in a society, right? And like the way that they act and what that says about the society, I think is actually like the fact that he showed 6 cops dressed the way that they were, acting the way that they were. Like to me, that's a statement on sort of the state of Turkey, even if this movie is not ultimately that political.
Something I found myself wondering was like, so you watch the opening conversation, right? And as we mentioned, there's some like aggressive stories and some shit talking. Like, I don't like any of those characters coming out of that conversation. And I wondered, is that just because of my like liberal PC, like, I don't know, because I immediately thought
people in Turkey are watching this
because
like,
but
cool.
No, is somebody
These
like
guys seem great.
Or because I'm immediately thinking like, oh, bad stuff's gonna happen to them now because they're clearly bad people, but maybe I'm just reading them as bad people and they weren't intended that way. I can't say
well,
that.
am I think the only person who was surprised at that story? I'm not going to retell the story because I just don't feel like repeating it, but
please do.
I was surprised that it didn't end in like violence of some sort. I was surprised that he was like, yeah, no big deal, like at the end of the story.
It's so weird. Yeah, but then where it turns after that though, when they get in the fight, they start beating on the kid.
Yeah.
He's like, "Whoa, what do you call me gay?" And it's like, this is the weirdest confrontation.
Right, it does take a turn.
I read a couple interviews with the director and he kind of talked about like those characters, and I think he just wanted to make them assholes to make them like quote unquote anti-heroes. Like I honestly didn't get the impression that he was even trying to make like a political statement or do anything other than.
I guess my point, and like again, I don't want to like harp too much on this because I think Joe, you're probably no. Well, I think you're probably right. Like maybe he wasn't, but like imagine that this movie was set in like Chicago, which like let's be clear has a real problem with the police right now.
So I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, but if this was set in Chicago and they were basically acting and doing the same type of shit, everyone would be like, "Holy shit! Like these are some
that's true.
Cops.
That's a valid point.
Like so.
Well, and so the problem narratively is that's pretty much all the characterization you get in the entire film, and so you're just left with that, and that's all you get.
Yeah, you get I mean, I don't know. Like, I'll play defense for the film a little bit. Like, you basically have Remzi, the boss, and Arda are kind of like the two that aren't like complete assholes, and then you have the guy Yavuz, who's like.
Yaz Queen.
He's like the real asshole. And then the rest of them are kind of just like regular dudes who are just like kind of around,
Yeah. And with everything that unfolds later, it still breaks down from like that description that John just gave. It still breaks down and people go out as you would expect in the order you'd expect. So I didn't really have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think to Eric's point though, like you kind of find out that these two characters have that connection like way too late in the movie to like even care that there is a connection there.
Well, it's just weird. It's it's the weird cutaways, right? Like it just doesn't
Yeah.
it there's no flow in it. It just sort of interrupts like what's happening at the time, and it's really sort of disorienting and never
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, their flashbacks are screwed up because there's a couple times watching this movie that I actually started to rewind to see because I thought I missed something. It's like, how the hell did we get here?
Yeah, they have the kind of like, I was trying to think of other, we've seen a bunch of other movies that kind of play with linearity in this way. Like it was like Triangle or something where it kind of keeps
Oh,
circling
that
back.
movie was confusing.
Well, and you don't know what's present and what's past. And then like there's even a moment where it's like he's kind of daydreaming, but it's about something that probably did happen. And I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah, by the end of it, while I found those things jarring and kind of annoying at first while I was watching the movie, by the end of it, it kind of added to the dreamlike quality of the whole thing. So I was
Dreamy
able to forgive it.
details.
Yes.
Anything else that stood out to you guys about this one? Do you want to talk
I will
about
say
the
to
ending
like
at all?
Casey and John's point all the way back at the beginning, like I thought they did a good job of making this weird enough where it was interesting, but didn't go so far as like even like what is it, the color of your body's tears or whatever, where it's just like I had no idea what the fuck was going on. Like I thought they walked a really nice line between like being batshit crazy but still somewhat grounded. That like kept this interesting enough where I was just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on and I don't want to watch this anymore.
Well, and I mean, that's honestly the reason why I really liked the ending. I feel like the ending sort of
Yeah, I agree.
justified, and we can talk about it if you guys want, but the ending to me sort of justified how fucking crazy and all over the place everything was, because it tied it up as neatly as you're gonna tie up something that's like this messy.
I agree too. That for me, it like that final coda, I was like, oh, interesting. Because they never solved that point of the film. I mean, now without spoiling, like there's a moment early in the film where something pretty dramatic happens that they explore but never kind of figure out the mystery, and then that is revealed right at the end of the movie. And it was good.
And I'm so glad we have video so we can tell when we're just boring the shit out of Eric and he's just yawning and nodding off in his chair.
Sorry. My allergies have been really bad and it's messing me up.
Right. So can we talk about the ending? I think since we're losing you, can we dig into the ending here a little bit?
Do it. Do it, friend.
Okay, so I'm going to do my best to talk through this since I volunteered, but there's all of these crazy sort of torture scenarios, and if I'm not mistaken, the last two, or the lone survivor from the all of this craziness is the main character whose name I forget, but it's just him left, and this sort of like father Satan guy, like crazy leader of the cult, and he manages to I can't remember where the key came from. It's been about a week since I've seen this, but all I know is that he jams the key and the key-shaped tattoo in the cult leader's head and dispatches of him.
The key came from like the throat of his friend, right?
His buddy, yeah.
The boss.
Very, very torture porny, very Saw-esque. In order to escape, you will have to get a key from a toilet full of hypodermic needles.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. Nice work.
Thank you. No practice. So he escapes and he's like working his way out of this. He's working his way out of this warehouse and he makes his way to the road and he gets obliterated by a van. Now, to what John was talking about, the van was the van that all of the cops were in earlier in the film, and they hit someone and they never figured out who it was, and it was them hitting this person and then kind of crashing into like a lake or pond, which set off this series of events where they ended up at the warehouse. So it sort of has this kind of Twilight Zone-y loop that it closes, and that's specifically what I was talking about when I felt like the ending sort of redeemed how all over the place it is, because that to me closed the loop and just made it feel like a coherent story, even though it was honestly never fully coherent.
Right.
I was also in on it.
Yeah, I dug it.
Yeah.
I do want to go back a little bit to talk about because it makes a good end cap. Like Mark had hinted towards it, but there's this whole section where they get down in the basement and the father shows up. So this guy, the father is the leader of this whole thing that's going on there, is played by Mehmet Sarahoglu, but he was this guy shows up and kind of commands the camera and everything. This is where things start going apeshit, and we watch all this ceremony that's going on. So by the time that Arda makes his escape at the end and gets out there, and you see them hit themselves, basically, it's like I could dig it. I could see where they're going with that, because who knows what the fuck happened down there.
Do you want to bang heads with me?
I will say that I went on the Wikipedia and was reading about it, and it was shot for like I guess the equivalent of like $300,000. And over the course
I like
of just,
that point when John made it 20 minutes ago.
well, over the course of just a few weeks, and they talk about how like just that underwater scene alone like cost a ton of money.
Yeah.
But like when you read about how, I think I definitely like I respect it more after reading about kind of how shoestring everything was.
Oh yeah, and even like I think he talked about like the permits they had were kind of loose, so like they like were constantly in fear of being shut down. Like it is impressive, like what he did.
You're talking about a country, they just don't have like a huge filmmaking culture there, apparently. So
this is like the only genre film to come out of there too, isn't it?
Yeah,
because
probably.
like they don't really get into that in their culture.
Making them devil movies. You know?
Good times. Yeah, I mean that. We didn't even get into the fact that like this Turkey is a Muslim country, like, and this just the fact.
I don't think we should, John. I'll be honest.
But I mean, just the fact that they're making this sort of like satanic cult type of film, but not with that Christian ideology underpinning it. Like to me, that again, it's just like another little thing that this could have been way more just like one more thing. But it's a little bit different.
I saw that this movie was listed as like a horror / fantasy, and I think the tacking on the fantasy descriptor on it is a really good idea. I think it helps round it out.
Maybe like torture porn / fantasy would be like, just so that people don't get the wrong idea and think they're getting Labyrinth or something.
No, I've never had fantasies like this.
This particular vision of hell is very different from that claymation hell that we experienced in that movie, whose name is escaping me right now.
Hell and Back.
Hell and Back. Oh, cool. Great.
This is the vision of hell I wanted to see in Event Horizon.
Topical. Sure. We just had a review of that on the site.
All right, guys.
BloodyGoodHorror.com.
Would you recommend Baskin, Mark?
It's Eric's bedtime. Yes.
Joe.
Yeah, I guess.
Casey.
Yes.
John.
I would only recommend it to Joe's junior employees.
And only by me recommending it. Proxy.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say, if you really like seeing outside of the box genre stuff, like it's worth it. But if you're just looking for like the next big thing in horror, I don't think this is it.
No, I would recommend it to everyone listening to this podcast. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone else I know.
I don't know. I think that we have people who are just waiting for us to tell them if something's amazing so they can go see it. And if that's the case, don't go see this.
Oh, well, you guys should go see Paddington because that movie was great.
All right, guys.
He rides the bathtub down the stairs.
It's adorable. He loves marmalade.
Let's take a quick break so that we can do some fan mail.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Who's this, Dave?
I'm Detective John Kimball.
Yeah, sure you are.
I'm a cop, you idiot! I'm Detective John Kimball.
Well, how about come over here and I'll whoop your goddamn ass? How about that shit?
Yeah.
All right?
You son of a bitch.
That's great, man. Call me that. You got a problem? Get over here. Otherwise, get off of the phone and quit being an idiot.
But I hope you leave enough room for my fist because I'm going to ram it into your stomach.
I will. Bye.
Thanks for calling Hooters San Jose. This is Kay. How can I help you?
How are you?
Good.
First, I would like to just get to know you.
Get to know me?
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
You son of a bitch.
What?
Stop whining.
Stop whining?
Yeah.
I'm not whining. What are you talking about?
Who are you?
I'm someone that works at this restaurant.
You lack discipline.
What?
You lack discipline.
Do I like discipline?
Yes.
You need to call a different line. This is Hooters. You don't call here talking like that, all right?
This is Courtney Gaines and Malachi from Children of the Corn, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. Mark and Joe.
I
not
may have
ready,
just wet myself.
Not ready for the Arnie
I love,
prank calls.
We should definitely just turn this into the Bloody Good Jerky Boys podcast.
You lack discipline. It's good stuff.
Oh my god.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. We only got one email this week.
I'm pretty sure everyone thought that we quit forever.
Yeah. Danielle says, someone wrote in last week about serial killer podcasts. I don't know which one she was talking about, but I highly recommend Sword and Scale. I just discovered it about a week or two ago. I've already burned through 30 hours. It's the best, best true crime podcast I found yet. There's a great episode on H.H. Holmes also.
Yeah, I started listening to that too. It is super depressing.
I tried it like 5 years ago and didn't like it, but I mean, it's been long enough that maybe it's gotten better. So
so it's funny. I actually just started listening to that recently as well. It's sort of like a good 2020 episode.
I felt like it was too surface, like for a podcast when I listened to it years ago. Like I wasn't getting any info that I found interesting. He was just reading headline. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah,
But
I think what I wanted from
I'm sure it's better now.
I kind of wanted like who done it, but like they really just like this person did this, and here's the story behind it, which is interesting on some of them, but like some, and then other ones, like you said, like I'm just kind of like whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I've probably heard 4 or 5 episodes, and I mean they're interesting. They're like grim, you know. Like
it's super creepy.
The first episode, I felt like he was reading a Wikipedia page.
Oh no, it's better produced than that. I was really impressed how much found audio he uses. I mean, he does a ton of production in it.
He's got a lot of good audio or like interview clips and stuff.
Yeah. Interview clips. He plays a lot of like 911 calls if there's something that is like a more recent case.
Yeah, I'll have to go back to it.
Yeah, it's interesting. No, now it's been a while, but someone did write in and say another podcast name. I don't think it was Sword and Scale, but maybe it was. Does anyone remember
the Black
that?
Tapes?
No, because it was like a true crime thing. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
Cereal.
I do remember
you might be
that
thinking of
coming in.
Cereal.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
I don't know if you heard of that one.
Yeah, no, it's weird. Never.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. We're also on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. I'd like to also check out BGH Classics because I saw a few earlier in the week.
Oh, we got the best one, and we're shutting it down after this.
Oh, boy.
Should I read those first? I gotta do a quick search here, but... Beep boop bop, keyboard noise, beepity beep boop.
Internet. Look at the internet. Hey, Mark's gonna read some tweets. Here we go. It's a BGH tweet.
I like that.
Well, cut that and loop it.
Ross Trent. Bada ding 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 ding. Whoa. All right.
It's BGH tweet.
All right. So we have man, there is a lot, and I'm just gonna read them to the best of my ability. So this is BGH Classics. For those of you who are not familiar, if you are listening to an episode of BGH that is a classic and you find a funny quote, tweet it with the hashtag BGH Classics and let us know what episode it is so that we can read it. This one is from franchise MPLS. It made you want to be a besweatered alcoholic. Mark 2014 year ender.
Yeah, I think we covered that.
Or not Insidious, Sinister. I
or
think.
someone
Sinister.
else. Someone else sent us that a few weeks ago, I think.
So good. All right, this one is from Biddle Brian. Episode 55, Eric wagering that My Bloody Valentine 3D would be the best horror movie of 2009.
Yes.
You know what?
That's
fine.
the most Eric quote of all time. I love it.
That's fucking hilarious.
It's fine.
That's the same Eric that insists that all the Resident Evil movies are worth watching.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
I stand by that.
That is that particular. Yeah.
That's fine.
This next one's from Claire Quilty. Happy to support BG Horror on Patreon. Get to hear the podcast become what it is now. Episode 105, listener suggests Joe pair a film with a beer.
Nice.
Yep. Oh, nice.
That's cool.
Oh,
See,
wow.
I like the making fun of us, but I also like where little nuggets like that of like the origin of things.
Where stuff started. That's nice. What? That wasn't even sarcasm.
I'm just gonna laugh about Eric and my Bloody Valentine for the next 25 minutes.
Beer guts.
His next one is from That Baseball Joe. Dog refuses to bark at aliens.
I was so pissed at that.
That was VHS 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this next one, same tweet. Child masturbates in living without repenting to the Lord.
Yep, it's true.
What?
I think
The
that's
kid
from
when they
a,
were from they were both from the Alien one, the last one in the movie, and the kids are all hanging out, and before the aliens come, like one of them's jerking off.
Yeah.
I don't even
That's
remember
right.
this movie.
That's wow.
Now I just
man.
remember very specifically, and then the dog, like there was something about the dog. He wasn't barking at the aliens. I don't remember.
No,
why.
he did. Like the dog was like because they had the camera
He
on
was
the
like
dog.
the chillest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Word. All right.
that dog died. I'm pretty sure that was sad.
I hate to give Eric any credit, but this is a good one. This one is also from That Baseball Joe. The only thing that dude is a professor of is a trailer park. And that was episode 263. You're next.
Yeah, I was talking about because fucking Larry Fessenden's character is a professor, and that's his student. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
I stand by that.
Oh shit! Hold on, sorry. Next one is from Joe C82. The amount of anger in Eric BGH's voice in the Voices episode toward Joe BGH is hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know why I would have been angry towards Joe in that show, but he may have just been going off the rails.
Yeah, probably.
Believe it or not, Joe's much more in
That's
control
likely.
now than he used to be.
This next one's from Biddle Brian, episode 71. Such high hopes for the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. So young, so innocent.
But I feel like we all kind of liked it the first time we watched it.
No.
John didn't.
No, I
I'm
kind
not
of did. I thought it was all right.
I was pretty sure I was against it, but you know.
Next one is also from Biddle Brian, episode 73. The one where the chat bloops and bleeps finally died. Hashtag thank Jeebus.
It took us 73 episodes.
No, but we
Is that
weren't.
possible?
Well,
That can't-
no.
that
Wait, what episode?
possibly
Wait,
true.
what episode number?
73?
Wow, how is that even possible? Oh, because okay, they were coming.
internet
through
was
Skype.
different back then,
No,
guys.
we used to
Keep that in
chat.
mind.
We used to chat through Skype, and I didn't know you could turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could also still hear it anybody signed on or off, or like if I had to recall somebody who heard the ringing.
Yeah.
Whoops! Listen, man. This is why I tell people just keep doing your show. You'll figure it all out eventually.
So I don't know if this is what Joe was talking about, but we got a BGH Classics from Lowly Ant, aka Mexican Tony,
Yup, this is the one.
where he Bates rolled us.
Nice.
Shut it down.
Oh wow.
For those of you that are not patrons and haven't been going through the back catalog,
God.
Bates rolling is the practice of sending a nude photograph of Kathy Bates from About Schmidt to an unsuspecting recipient.
I even submitted that to Urban Dictionary. It's
Like,
a thing.
easily
used
the
to do
most
it
most
constantly.
offensive thing we've ever done, but still pretty funny now that I'm looking at it. It's pretty good.
So awesome.
Honestly, I will send a box of Girl Scout cookies to someone who can find the episode where we came up with that idea.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I would love to know the origin of Bates rolling. I also thank God I didn't click on that at work.
Oh wow, it's just right in the tweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just embedded. He put that photo on his desktop and uploaded it to Twitter.
So if you guys follow, you should definitely follow lowly_ant if you're like really fiending for that picture, which I know you totally are.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
it's funny.
You don't want to Google it and you still want to see it.
It's real funny.
This may
Lowly
start like a whole second generation of Bates rolling.
Oh,
That'd be,
Yeah.
I don't want to have that
Yeah.
attached to my name.
not open that particular thing again.
just Urban Dictionary. Bates rolled.
Yeah, that might be my greatest legacy is making Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh
lord.
my god. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of Ask BGHs. These are for questions and not for.
That
being
is
photographed of Kathy Bates.
hashtag BGH Classics, by the way, if you want to send us funny stuff from old episodes or tidbits.
Yep. This first one's from Hendershot Keith. Thinking about Wizard of Oz. Oh, hold on. Lost it. I'm having difficulties today. Thinking about Wizard of Oz. Wicked Witch and Flying Monkey Posse versus Crazy Headless Queen Lady and Wheeler Posse in Return. Who wins?
I love Return to Oz, but the first is pretty amazing. Like honestly, I might call the original Wizard of Oz like one of my earliest introductions to horror, because to me, like, that's a horror movie. When those monkeys are flying and they're ripping that scarecrow up and you're a kid, shit is terrifying.
Yeah,
it was terrifying. But those, what were they? The rollers,
the Wheelers.
Wheelers, those are fucking creepy.
What I love about like the sequel is that it's just that great kind of 80s fantasy jankiness.
Oh my god.
Where
there
was you can see they're just on roller skates, but it's still super spooky.
Not to like spawn off on like a Disney nerd rant, but like pretty much every movie that Disney puts out, they also have their Imagineers like come up with rides and stuff. So there was like all these plans if Return to Oz like took off, to have like the witch in that be like in the park where you could meet her and stuff, like like amazing. Like it could have been like a part of like Disney World if like that movie had been huge.
I would love to live in an alternate universe where Joe doesn't give a shit about Disney and John uses the word Imagineers earnestly.
Imagineers.
I've used Imagineers. I'm sure.
Mark, on a 13-hour ride home from your bachelor party, the wife and I got bored and decided to book our trip to Disney World soon.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's a long ass drive, man. Holy shit.
I also signed up for the Dopey Challenge, which is a marathon, half marathon, 10K, and 5K all in 4 days.
What?
Well,
do they go in descending order?
Yeah, 4 days in a row.
No,
Joe, you can just quit the show. You don't have to kill yourself in order to get off the show.
You really learn things about yourself on a 12-hour car ride, about what you can handle.
We'll see.
The longest I've been in a car with Joe is 3 hours. I can only imagine what hours 4+ are like.
Oh my god. At one point my wife was like, why don't you let me drive just so you shut up?
Oh, I don't know. When I'm driving, it's like zoned out. I don't say a word. I just want to zone into something good podcast or something.
I get loopy.
All right, next one. Next one from Lowly Ant. Wouldn't Joe make a great Beetlejuice? Joe actually does have a very Beetlejuicy quality about him. He's very
juicy.
he's very mischievous.
I don't know what to say about that. Juicy.
To go back for a second, the other thing I do while I'm driving is listen to Limp Bizkit, which on the way to Mark's bachelor party, I screenshotted my Spotify to send to Joe so he could see that I was listening to.
I was so happy.
Yeah, I really was. I was rocking out to it. It was great.
We should have posted that on our Instagram. You should have texted it to me.
Keep rolling. I mean, Joe was with you.
Come on. All right.
Yeah.
Next one. Yeah. That baseball Joe, what's your take on The Woods and movies advertising as the scariest movie ever?
What's The Woods?
It's coming out later this year.
Somebody sent it in like our Slack.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch the trailer. God damn it. This is embarrassing. We should know this. Because I think it's like somebody pretty famous who's doing
probably one of those trailers I've seen like 12 times.
Yeah, it's a Lucky McKee movie.
That's cool.
It looks spooky.
Oh, no, sorry.
No, he already made a movie called The Woods like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
With Bruce
I don't
Campbell.
know if it's anybody super...
it's
Adam Wingard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He is a guy who's done some stuff.
Oh, he did The Guest.
Yeah.
And You're Next.
He also starred in The Sacrament.
So the quick synopsis involves a group of college students on a camping trip who discover they are not alone.
It's cool.
It looks creepy. It looks pretty
Is it
good.
found footage?
I mean, so to answer the question,
it's not.
like, it's not the director that's coming up with this tagline that is like, this is the scariest movie ever.
It's a marketing
I feel like
person.
that's just people that like marginally understand how to market movies.
It's a
No,
market.
I think he was like, I'll direct this, but only if you call it the scariest horror movie ever. Yeah, of course not.
No, that's the
John, you don't have to be a dick.
that's the new blogger that they went to and said, "Hey, if you say this, we'll put a quote on the DVD and give you a copy."
There you go.
Speaking of, if you're the guy who is trying to shill the Alex Pardee umbrellas to us, please answer my email because I'm very interested.
I sent
I
sent you his email.
Yeah, and then I emailed him, and surprisingly, I've not heard back.
Oh.
This next one is from Bad Attitude for You. Would every movie be improved by a devil-worshipping, sexual coercing murder gnome?
Sure.
It wouldn't be hurt by one.
I was going to go with maybe, but I guess I'll just go with the rest of the crowd.
I think John in particular thought that that's what the Nightmare on Elm Street remake was missing.
Oh my god.
Metal Prof, how could anyone overlook the casting opportunity of Baskin starring Tim Robbins?
I don't follow.
Joe's been making Baskin Robbins jokes for weeks. I'm just.
Oh my god! I have, and I did not pick him on that one.
Wow. I thought you were.
Get him out of here.
I thought you were mocking.
I had the same deal. I was staring at pictures of Tim Robbins, like trying to figure out if it was like because he looked like the main dude. That's funny. If you just search for Baskin, I guarantee it's the weirdest Google image search that you will ever encounter. It's like really like colorful pictures of ice cream, pictures of this movie, and then just random strange shit that you can't unsee.
I love this.
Next one is from Blue State Pod. You guys mentioned getting a Shudder account. Honest opinions on their service.
I haven't used it in weeks because it sucks.
Mm.
The selection is like pretty.
An honest opinion on their service.
The selection is decent. Anything involving like controlling it or using their interface is balls.
It is very much, it's very bare bones. But I mean, so to their credit, they have some good curation. But you know who has even better curation? If you go to killer-flicks with an X.com, boom, we have fantastic curation.
Yeah, I mean, my experience, I haven't watched anything on it yet because I've gotten in there. You search around; they've got some good movies, but it's all movies I've seen a million times. So if you're like a kind of a hardcore horror nerd like us, I don't know.
I did watch
classic stuff in there and they've got a lot of like
the selection really is pretty decent.
Yeah.
But nothing about the experience.
It is a weird mix though of like new kind of interesting stuff, but then like the back catalog is so all over the map. Like I don't know, they just have a lot of weird
they
shit,
do have a lot of stuff on there that like I wish Netflix had. Like old shit.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It occupies a weird space. It's like if you were, it's hard for us to like put ourselves in this hypothetical situation, but if you were a person who only enjoyed watching horror stuff, would Shudder be enough?
No,
I don't think
it would
service is enough.
I know,
like,
that's what sucks. Yeah, that's what sucks.
No.
Yeah, that's what sucks. That's that shit I don't like.
With an X.
People, where you at? Put your hands in the air.
Because if you don't care, then we don't
40
care.
Ounce Heroes. With horror films turning into TV shows like Evil Dead and now The Exorcist, what film would you like to see as a TV show?
Oh.
The Fog.
Yeah, that could be cool.
Where every
How
week,
in the hell would they make a whole TV show out of
you're
it?
investigating what happened 100 years prior in your town, and then every week the fog rolls in, and you've got to stay safe from the fog.
I was gonna say American Psycho, but that would basically be Dexter.
Yeah.
Basically.
How about Monster Squad? Do a Monster of the Week type setup.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I like that.
Yes,
I like that.
dude.
There was that show called Monsters.
Dude,
That was
yes,
interesting.
like a group of like kids who are way into monsters. It's like I picture like Erie, Indiana, where you have like a Monster of the Week thing every week.
Yeah,
that's genius.
What if they did The Purge, but in the format of 24?
You could totally make a Purge show.
Oh.
But would it be The Purge every week? Like
1 hour of
No,
the Purge.
it'd be in the format of 24. It happens in real time.
So much purging.
And then the next year, and the next season, it's just the next Purge.
So much purging.
Only if they cast Kiefer Sutherland.
I don't know, dude. I'm pretty sure this election year is going to end it, huh?
Did you guys know that takes place during the election?
Joe, what's your hot take on this Budweiser America situation?
It's so ridiculous.
It's so bad. Like, it makes me want to drink Budweiser less, and I don't really like
to their credit, I've thought of Budweiser more today than I think I have in the history of drinking.
But, like, I've thought about, like, how I'm going to make fun of people who I see drinking.
John, you live in
It's
Manhattan.
not even an American brewery. Like, they're not American owned. They have, like, fuck them.
Schnars, you live in Manhattan. Nobody thought you were going to be drinking Budweiser.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a Bud in my day. A Bud or two.
All right. This one is kind of offensive, but I'm going to read it anyways. This is from Robale. It's a screenshot of the Keymaster fella from this movie, and it says, "Is that Whoopi Goldberg without dreads?"
Oh.
Inappropriate.
That might be racist.
Also, another weird thing
I
I mentioned over email was just like, How old school is it to just like, hey, we need a bad guy for this movie. Let's cast a guy with a skin condition that just looks really weird because we looked it up. That's what the guy is. That's,
I thought he was good.
That's some 80s shit. That's like that dude in
pretty awesome.
The Hills Have Eyes.
My concern always with this is now he thinks like he's going to be an actor, like that poor guy from what's the Captain Phillips. Like, no.
What?
Captain Phillips.
The guy from Captain Phillips.
Oh, because I've seen fucking Captain Phillips.
He got nominated for an Oscar. And he's like, all right, now I'm going to be an actor. It's like, no, you're not. You're the guy from Captain Phillips, and that's all you're ever going to do.
How do you know? Maybe he's like going to be a really good actor someday.
Joe has a lot of specific thoughts on this.
Nope.
He's got other credits right now.
He's got nothing.
All right, Mark, moving along.
Can I
moving along?
I just want to point out that when Joe said Captain Phillips, my incredulous voice was because I was thinking of the movie Captain Ron, and I was very confused.
You know.
Kurt Russell guy is going nowhere.
Kurt Russell, I read today, he just wrapped shooting on Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's pretty fucking sweet. I'm excited for that.
Mark, what else we got on Twitter?
Oh, that's going to be amazing.
Jesus, Eric, can you just like hide your desire to get off the show for like 30 seconds, please?
You gotta keep me engaged, Mark. Think of me like a toddler. I need you to flash some keys in front of me here.
I mean, I feel like I'm throwing out the fucking hits. You're just asleep at the wheel here. This is next one is from Dean Lucechester. Worst sequel to a horror franchise. Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
The Exorcist.
I love Nightmare on Elm Street 2. You get out of here.
What about Last Exorcism 2?
Yes,
Part
that's
2?
it. That's the one.
Boom.
Yeah.
You guys have not seen The Exorcist 2?
I might also say Slumber Party Massacre Part 2.
Oh my God, no, that's awesome with the rock and roll guitar.
I hate that one.
He's got a rock and roll guitar.
I don't think I've seen Exorcist 2. I probably have.
No,
But
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's almost unwatchable.
You know,
as far as the show, it's definitely Last Exorcism 2. As far as stuff we've done on
I
the show.
still haven't seen either of the Candyman sequels.
Yeah, they don't look very good.
Chicagoan.
Farewell to the Flesh. Isn't that
Part
one?
two is New Orleans, right?
One of them has Donna D'Errico in it from Baywatch.
Donna D'Errico, that's
Hello.
a name, huh?
He's got a rock and roll guitar.
I was telling John in the pre-show that I watched Psycho 2 for the first time this week, and that was actually a pretty good
Psycho
sequel.
2 is legit. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Last one, Lowly Ant. Now that Snare's got a daughter, does he feel the same way about the Nightmare on Elm Street remake?
All right. You know, go back, listen to the episode. I think I made my thoughts clear. So.
That's why it's still coming
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got. Eric can go to bed now.
John, that's why the question's coming up.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. We're also on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. If you want to find out how you can be hearing these funny things, podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com. You can either pick up individual classic episodes, or if you want the whole bunch at once, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. You get access to the live streaming video of the show every week. You get all the back episodes. You get some swag with that at certain levels. So check that out, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. Mark, I hear that Tweet with BGH is coming back.
Oh, shit, we forgot.
Oh, it totally is. And I set a calendar invite. It's happening this weekend. Shit.
What are they doing?
The Circle?
The Circle.
Which there's apparently 300 movies named The Circle, but this one's, I think it's from last year.
Yes, and there will also be a drinking game that's going to be posted up on the site. It'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, and it's streaming on Netflix, so you have no excuse not to watch it.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Tweet with BGH. Yeah, check out bloodygoodhorror.com. Stuff going on over there. I guess that's going to do it for this week, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you soon.
Adios.
See you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.